At long last, my top 10 quarterbacks list of all time is ready to be presented to you guys. And we're going to be going from 10 to 1, counting down the entire list. And I spent about a little over a month putting this list together. This is the most time I've ever spent on one single video, or preparing for one single video. But I mean, this is easily, I think, my best work. I put a lot of time and effort into it. I did a lot of research. I took into account a variety of statistics, as well as individual achievements of each player, to put together my comprehensive list of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time. So without further ado, let's start at number 10. Let's get this thing rolling. Coming in at number 10 on my list of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time is none other than the most underrated quarterback of all time, Phillip Rivers. Yes, you heard that correctly. Phillip Rivers is the number 10 quarterback of all time based on my rankings. And the reason why is that Phillip Rivers, he gets a lot of flack for not having a lot of success in his career, but the fact of the matter is this is one of the most consistently elite quarterbacks I have ever seen. 9 of the past 10 seasons, Phillip Rivers has thrown for over 4,000 yards. He is a 7-time Pro Bowler and won 2013 Comeback Player of the Year. He is statistically, I would say, the 6th or 7th best quarterback in NFL history, and even though he doesn't have a whole lot of individual achievements, he has been held down quite a bit by his teams over the past 5 to 10 years or so. Phillip Rivers, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated quarterbacks, if not the most underrated quarterback in NFL history. A lot of people don't give him a lot of credit, but the fact of the matter is, when you look at the statistics, he averages 258.3 yards per game in his career, a 5.4 touchdown percentage compared to a relatively low 2.5 interception percentage. He is completing 64.4% of his passes in his career. He throws for an average of 7.8 yards per attempt, has a 2.1 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio, and has one of the highest quarterback ratings of all time at 96.6. Phillip Rivers, in my opinion, is the number 10 quarterback of all time. Coming in at number 9 is quarterback Dan Marino for the Miami Dolphins. In his career, he started 242 games for them, averaging 253.6 yards per game, a 5.0 touchdown percentage to a 3.0 interception percentage. He completed 59.4% of his passes with a 7.3 yards per attempt, a 1.6 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio, and a quarterback rating of 86.4. In his career, once all was said and done, he had accumulated 1 NFL MVP, 3 All-Pros, and 1 Offensive Player of the Year. Dan Marino, coming in at number 9 on my list, might seem a little bit low for some people, and the fact that he's only 1 spot ahead of a guy like Phillip Rivers might be a little shocking to some people. But the fact of the matter is, Dan Marino, at least statistically, doesn't really compare to a lot of other players on my list. In fact, I only have him rated 11th all-time when you take the statistics into account, just statistics. So, he ranks a little bit lower than other players on my list. That being said, he is still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and deserves a spot in the top 10. Quarterback Kurt Warner for the St. Louis Rams, New York Giants, and Arizona Cardinals, starting a combined 124 games in his career. By far the lowest number on this list. However, statistically and individually in terms of achievements, Kurt Warner stacks up as one of the best of all time. He averaged 260.8 yards per game, a 5.1 touchdown percentage, a 3.1 interception percentage, a completion percentage of 65.5, a yards per attempt of 7.9, a touchdown to interception ratio of 1.5 to 1, and a quarterback rating of 93.7. Kurt Warner in his career also won 2 NFL MVPs, was a 2-time All-Pro, and a 1-time Super Bowl MVP. Kurt Warner, to me, is a quarterback that's a little bit overlooked by a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people probably think he is an all-time great, and he definitely does deserve to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which he is. But to me, taking into account the statistics as well as the individual success with the 2 MVPs, 2 All-Pros, and 1 Super Bowl MVP, I gotta put him at number 8 on this list. Coming in at number 7 on my list is none other than the gunslinger himself, Brett Favre, a quarterback who started for the Green Bay Packers, the New York Jets, and the Minnesota Vikings, playing in a combined 302 games in his career. In his career, he threw for 237.9 yards per game, a 5.0 touchdown percentage, a 3.3 interception percentage, a completion percentage of 62.0, a yards per attempt of 7.1, a touchdown to interception ratio of 1.3 to 1, and a quarterback rating of 86.0. Not only that, but Brett Favre was one of the most individually successful quarterbacks in NFL history, winning 3 MVP awards, 3 straight MVP awards to be exact, making 3 All-Pro teams, and winning 1 Offensive Player of the Year. Brett Favre, to me, is one of the greatest to ever play. He's by far the toughest to ever play the position, and that had a big part on why he was ranked number 7. I really wanted to put him in the top 5, but compared to other quarterbacks, he really statistically wasn't that great. His yards per attempt is very low compared to others. His completion percentage is relatively low. His touchdown to interception ratio is also pretty low, and his interception percentage is really high compared to other quarterbacks. That being said, he was one of the toughest quarterbacks to ever play, and he's still by far my favorite quarterback of all time. Coming in at number 6 is quarterback Joe Montana, who played for the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs in his career. In his career, he started 192 games in total, throwing for 211.2 yards per game, a touchdown percentage of 5.6, an interception percentage of 2.6, a completion percentage of 63.3, a yards per attempt of 7.5, a touchdown to interception ratio of 1.9 to 1, and a quarterback rating of 92.3. On top of that, Joe Montana was also one of the most individually successful quarterbacks we've ever seen. He won 2 NFL MVPs, was a 3-time All-Pro, a 3-time Super Bowl MVP, and a 1-time Offensive Player of the Year. Joe Montana, to me, is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. I didn't put him in my top 5, however, because simply his statistics weren't as impressive as other quarterbacks ahead of him. Also, the fact that he played with the greatest receiver of all time in Jerry Rice and one of the greatest coaches of all time who had one of the greatest systems of all time in Bill Walsh. I just couldn't bring myself to put him ahead of the next guy on my list. And at number 5 on my list is quarterback Steve Young, who played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and San Francisco 49ers in his career, playing in a total of 169 games and averaging 196 yards per game with a 5.6 touchdown percentage, a 2.6 interception percentage, a completion percentage of 64.3, a yards per attempt that is the highest on the list at 8.0, and a touchdown to interception ratio of 2.2 to 1 with a quarterback rating of 96.8. When he retired, it was the highest quarterback rating of all time. Steve Young, to me, was a better quarterback than Joe Montana, and that might be very, very controversial. Yes, Joe Montana won a lot of Super Bowls in his career, but Steve Young statistically was a better quarterback, had a higher quarterback rating, a higher touchdown to interception ratio, a higher yards per attempt, a higher completion percentage, the same touchdown percentage and interception percentage. He threw for less yards per game, but that's only because there was a lot of games on that list that he didn't start. So, in my opinion, statistically, Young was a better quarterback than Joe Montana was, and also Young did have a fair amount of success individually in his career, winning 2 MVPs, making 3 All-Pro teams. He did win the Super Bowl MVP, throwing a Super Bowl record, 6 touchdowns in his lone Super Bowl win, and was also an Offensive Player of the Year. Steve Young is number 5 on my list of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time. In possibly the most controversial ranking on my list, at number 4, we have quarterback Tom Brady, who has played his entire career with the New England Patriots. In his career, Brady has played in 263 games, averaging 262 yards per game, a 5.5 touchdown percentage, a 1.8 interception percentage, a completion percentage of 64.0, a yards per attempt of 7.5, a touchdown to interception ratio of 3 to 1, and a quarterback rating of 97.5. On top of that, Tom Brady is one of also the most individually successful quarterbacks, if not the most individually successful quarterback of all time, with 3 NFL MVPs, 3 All-Pros, 4 Super Bowl MVPs, and 2 Offensive Players of the Year. The reason that Tom Brady comes in at number 4 and not number 3, 2, or 1 is the fact that he has benefited from a lot of really positive things in his career. He has had one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest coach of all time, in Bill Belichick. He has had the benefit of playing with elite defenses throughout his career. That, however, is not to take away from what he has done in his career. He is one of the most accomplished quarterbacks of all time. He has the 5 Super Bowls. However, in my list, I really do not want to include Super Bowls as much as other statistics and awards, because Super Bowls, in my opinion, are a team achievement, not an individual achievement. Individually, however, Tom Brady is still one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it, and statistically, he is in the top 4 of all time. So, Tom Brady, in my opinion, is the number 4 quarterback of all time. Coming in at number 3 is quarterback Drew Brees. He played for the San Diego Chargers and New Orleans Saints in his career, starting a combined total of 259 games throughout his career. He averaged 283.4 yards per game, by far the highest mark on this list, a touchdown percentage of 5.3, an interception percentage of 2.4, a completion percentage of 67.3, a yards per attempt of 7.6, a touchdown to interception ratio of 2.2 to 1, and a quarterback rating of 97.8. Unfortunately for Drew Brees, the thing keeping him from being the best of all time is the fact that he hasn't had a whole lot of individual success in his career. He has never won an MVP, he has only made 1 All-Pro team, and he has won 1 Super Bowl MVP along with his 1 Super Bowl win, and he has won 2 Offensive Players of the Year. However, I believe that Drew Brees, if he was given a defense that was elite throughout his career, he has suffered through some of the worst defenses we have ever seen in NFL history, and he has had to carry those defenses, and oftentimes it has not gone well for his team. I believe that if he had the kind of coaching, the kind of defenses that Tom Brady had, he would be a much, much more individually successful player in NFL history, and it remains to be seen if he wins NFL MVP this year, which he could very well do at this point. Coming in at number 2 on my list is quarterback Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers has played in 159 games in his career, averaging 261.5 yards per game, with a 6.3 touchdown percentage, a 1.5 interception percentage, a completion percentage of 65.0, a yards per attempt of 7.9, and touchdown to interception ratio of 4.2 to 1, and a quarterback rating of 103.8. Statistically, Aaron Rodgers is far and away the greatest quarterback of all time. He is the highest touchdown percentage in NFL history, the lowest interception percentage in NFL history, the highest touchdown to interception ratio in NFL history, and the highest quarterback rating in NFL history. On top of that, Aaron Rodgers is also very successful individually in his career with 2 NFL MVPs, 2 All-Pros, a Super Bowl MVP as well. Aaron Rodgers, on top of that, is also the most physically talented quarterback I have ever seen play the game, with one of the best arms I have ever seen. He has made some of the greatest throws on the run that I have ever seen in my life, and he, in my opinion, is the second best quarterback to ever play the game of football, and rightfully so. And last, but certainly not least, the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion, is Peyton Manning, quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts and Denver Broncos. Manning started 266 games in his career, throwing for 270.5 yards per game, with a touchdown percentage of 5.7, an interception percentage of 2.7, a completion percentage of 65.3, a yards per attempt of 7.7, a touchdown to interception ratio of 2.1 to 1, and a quarterback rating of 96.5. It's not the statistics, though, that gets Peyton Manning at the top spot in my list. It's the fact that he has won 5 NFL MVPs in his career. He is a 7-time All-Pro, a 1-time Super Bowl MVP, and a 2-time Offensive Player of the Year. Peyton Manning is the most all-around quarterback in NFL history when it comes to statistics and individual achievements. And like I said before, I don't count Super Bowls as a part of this. I only count MVPs, All-Pros, Super Bowl MVPs, and Offensive Player of the Year awards in my individual rankings for achievements. So, Peyton Manning by far is the best quarterback of all time when it comes to achievements individually, and statistically he is one of the top 3 quarterbacks of all time, and not to mention he retired with many significant NFL records, including the NFL passing yards record and passing touchdowns record. Now that my list is complete, I'd like to thank everybody who tuned in to watch this with me. I really, really appreciate you guys, and I appreciate everybody who is looking forward to this, even if you disagree a lot with my list, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people out there who do disagree with my list. And the fact of the matter is, this is a very, very tough thing to debate. I mean, the greatest quarterbacks of all time, that's going to be a debate that goes on as long as football itself exists. And to me, this was the best possible way for me to rank these quarterbacks. I tried to rank them as fairly and unbiasedly as possible. I truly did. And that's the list that I came up with. And I found a lot of really, really interesting things along the way. So all in all, I really enjoyed doing this, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Did I get everything right? Do you guys have any differing opinions? Should I do more greatest of all time lists? Should I do one for basketball, or maybe other positions in football, or maybe baseball? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time.